You faced Mexican troops on American soil?
Yes, sir. They had a 50 cal mounted on a military Humvee that was given to them by our government.
Is the federal government focusing its efforts down here on the river now?
No, sir. No, sir. They're 25 miles north of here at the checkpoint on I-10. You're standing in almost America. We're alone down here.
Republican and Wisconsin businessman Paul Nehlen is challenging House Speaker Paul Ryan when it comes to securing our southern border. And Nehlen has personally donated over $40,000 in urgently needed rifles, body armor, and surveillance equipment to 2 Texas border sheriff's departments in dire need. This is something worth talking about, and we invite you to call in as you can let us know what you think about all of this at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. And without further ado, let's welcome in via Skype the gentleman challenging Paul Ryan there in that district in Wisconsin, Paul Nehlen. It's good to have you back on Newsmax Prime, Paul.
Thanks, Brother JD.
Now, Brother Nehlen, there you are wanting to represent Wisconsin. Why travel all the way down to Texas and then give over $40,000 of your own money, not campaign funds, to those county sheriffs?
Well, you know, we've got a heroin crisis here in Wisconsin, and I wanted to see for myself what's going on at this border, because I couldn't get a straight answer, you know, in the news and what I was reading. So I took it upon myself to reach out, and I went down to the border a couple of times. I went down to Laredo with Brandon Darby, and he took me some places down in the Laredo sector. And then I drove from Laredo to El Paso. I don't know if you've ever done that. I don't really recommend it, but was in El Paso with the sheriffs there, Sheriff West and Sheriff Carrillo, and their deputies, and they showed me stuff that just blew my mind, as if my mind wasn't already blown in Laredo. It was, you know, just the dash cam video, seeing those guys. If you watch that video, one of our guys got out with a sidearm, and I knew there were rifles on the other side, but they were down there rescuing a female Border Patrol agent that had been shot, and that Border Patrol management had said, pull everybody back, and they said, no, we're not leaving her. And I said, why'd you get out with your sidearm? And he said, well, I don't have a rifle. And I looked at some of these rifles, and they were in pretty bad shape, and we went back that night, and I said to the guys, I said, we gotta do something here. I didn't know what it was, and just came up with the idea that, you know, if they had better equipment,
and so, yeah, you took it upon yourself to make your own appropriation of personal funds, and yet there's Paul Ryan giving money to the Obama amnesty campaign, signing off on letting business as usual go on there. Listen, let's go to the phones. We've got a caller from Texas. Kim is on the line. Kim, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Hey, JD.
Hey, Kim.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing?
Hey, Kim.
Thank you so much for running against Paul Ryan. He has become a celebrity. He walks around, I think, with an entourage and doesn't listen to the public, and we need someone up there to replace him, and you sound like you're the guy to do it.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate the call. Yeah, Paul Ryan's bringing TB to Wisconsin. We've got a TB outbreak going on up here with all the refugees that they're bringing in. And he's got funds for refugees, but he certainly doesn't have funds for putting up some security at that border. And I just can't watch our children die from heroin. It's heartbreaking. And I couldn't imagine those sheriffs or deputies not making it home after their shift, or those Border Patrol agents. We did see some Border Patrol agents, few and far between. Saw plenty out at the checkpoint on I-10. Saw plenty out there. But yeah, the ranchers, all the folks in that almost America region are struggling with the fact that they're being overrun. And this Wisconsin's first district is surrounded by sanctuary cities. We've got Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison surrounding us now. So,
and there is the current congressman, Speaker of the House, again, going out with those who advocate amnesty. It has got to be something where you obviously have drawn a difference. I tell you, let's go back to the phones to Newburgh, New York, and welcome Don to Newsmax Prime. Hiya, Don.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great.
Good. You know what? Just before I comment on the Paul Ryan vote here, I just want to say, Newsmax, I love it. I left Fox to watch Newsmax.
There you go. We're happy to have you here.
And, I tell my father and my sister in Tennessee, but they don't get the channels there.
Well, you got to get them on the computer, newsmaxtv.com. But to this race between Paul Nehlen and Paul Ryan, your comment, Dawn?
My comment is the Republican National Committee needs to invest money into, to him.
Well, you'd love to see that, and yet
it needs to go.
Yeah, well, here's what happens with those committees. I can tell you, Dawn, from past experience, those committees protect incumbents. And so, Paul Nehlen, you're having to raise money. How is it going? Are you getting the donations you need to take on a guy who's got millions of dollars in his war chest?
Yeah, well, if you recall, Eric Cantor lost to Dave Bratt. Dave Bratt was outspent 40-1, and we have crushed Dave Bratt's fundraising here. We're doing a great job. I put a bunch of my own money into this campaign as well. I'm not rich like Mr. Trump, but something I would say to Dawn is, quite conversely, the local GOP here is out pounding Ryan signs. In fact, I just went by a guy's house here in Delavan who called me, who I know, who said, hey, I need the biggest sign you've got in my yard. They just came by here and didn't even ask me if they could put a Ryan sign in, and they put it in my front yard. And he said, I took it down and I want your sign in my yard. So people in Wisconsin are fed up with Paul Ryan. There's going to be some that are going to stay on the Kool-Aid, but there's a lot of signs popping up right now that they're not the homeowners putting them out. It's the GOP operatives that are putting them out. So, but you know what? We pounded 1,000 doors on Saturday. We pound hundreds of doors every day. I love getting out and talking to constituents and answering their questions about Trans-Pacific Partnership or this Puerto Rico bill. Paul Ryan's focused on anything but Wisconsin's first district right now.
As I often say, Brother Nehlen, it's as if Paul spells conservative beginning with the letter K, as in K Street, for the Washington lobbyists. Let's go back to the phones. A couple of minutes left. To Maryland we go, and we welcome Ann to Newsmax Prime. Ann, what's on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you, lots on my mind. We can't get Trump in there fast enough.
Well, you're talking about Trump's candidacy, and
every woman I know is for Trump, and I don't know where the press is getting this thing about women and Trump.
All right. Well, we appreciate the call, Ann. A helpful reminder for the future: turn down your television before you call because of the lag time there. But Brother Nehlen, you mentioned TPP. You mentioned some other initiatives where Paul Ryan is 180 degrees different from Donald Trump. And yet Paul Ryan offers faint praise to the presumptive GOP nominee. Is that working for him back home?
No, it's not. In fact, Paul Ryan, people are seeing through this, and they're saying to me at the doors, Paul Ryan's making a huge mistake. They can see through this. Voters across the country can see through it. They know that he's just giving lip service to this. Paul Ryan honestly should be reporting in-kind contributions to Hillary Clinton's campaign, because that's really who he's supporting right now. Paul Ryan and Hillary Clinton both want TPP. Hillary Clinton's trying to pivot away from it, but it's stuck to her like a spider monkey. Same thing with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is the mercenary champion of this TPP. He calls it free trade. Not free trade. It's a crony. It's a corrupt trade deal. Paul Ryan is the mercenary champion of it. And I'll tell you, I'm the mercenary champion of balanced trade. A scaled tariff. Look it up. It's
Sure,
But
it's part of our history, and that a tariff is another way to accrue funds. Long before we had an income tax, we utilized tariffs for the revenue to run the federal government. Speaking of revenue, about 20 seconds left, Paul. If people want to help you, Paul Nehlen, defeat Speaker Paul Ryan, where do they need to go?
Go to dumppaulryan.com. That's dumppaulryan.com, and you can help by donating. You can be a nationwide phone caller for us, calling into the district to get the message out.
And we will have to leave it right there. Paul Nehlen, tonight from his district in Wisconsin. We thank you, sir. Great to have you on Newsmax Prime. We're going to celebrate our freedoms on July 4th, but what about those trying to take our religious freedoms? We'll talk with author Mary Eberstadt next. Stay tuned.